There are many famous fighter squadrons in the Star Wars universe. Red, Rogue, and Gold are the most commonly talked about. Another squadron, equally as important, though with less history, is Blue Squadron. This transmission covers the full canon roster of Blue Group. A follow-up transmission, already in the works, will cover the Legends roster. This is the Imperial Remnant. Stand by for briefing. Before we get into the canon roster, there's this semi-canon kind of gray area. Blue Squadron was used in some newer Star Wars projects. These were made in the time when anything new coming out was supposed to be canon, but they are Lego specials. These animated specials are actually pretty fun, but they're not strictly considered canon. In this in-between kind of time, Blue Squadron was commanded primarily by Lieutenant Colvett Valeria. Valeria is a private person, and not much information is available about her. Blue Squadron's success and reputation indicates that she was a competent leader who cared about the lives of her pilots. She was held in high esteem amongst the Rebel Alliance, around 4 ABY. Blue 1 is a call sign with a strong history. Ahsoka Tano used this call sign while serving the Grand Army of the Republic as a commander. She used the call sign on Ryloth and Mon Cala. In the early days of the Galactic Civil War, Blue leader was General Antoc Merrick. Merrick was an ace pilot before he was even put in charge of a squadron. An ace pilot meant that he had at least 5 confirmed combat kills in a starfighter. Before joining the rebellion, Merrick was flight leader of his home planet, Veru-Jansi, Air Cavalry. Merrick was killed during the Battle of Scarif. The next Blue One is an unnamed pilot who was killed by Darth Vader during the Battle of Rogus Voss. Another unnamed pilot took up the call sign during the fateful Battle of Jakku. This time, Blue Squadron was the renamed 77 Squadron who used the color moniker just for this battle. The resistance against the First Order saw Temmin snap Wexley, leading Blue Squadron against Starkiller Base. Temmin had deep roots in the fight against tyranny as his mother Nora joined the rebellion against the Empire when his father, Brenton, was killed. Nora would eventually remarry the legendary pilot Wedge Antilles. Also for the Resistance, another unnamed pilot operated under Blue 1 to retrieve intelligence gathered by undercover operative Vi Marati on Batuu. In the Clone Wars, a clone pilot going by Axe served as Blue 2 during the Battle of Ryloth. It seems the roster position was left open for most of the duration of the Galactic Civil War, as there is no information available until the Battle of Jakku. During that battle, Blue 2 was filled by an unnamed pilot. In the fight against Starkiller Base, Blue 2 was a human pilot called Yolo Ziff. Ziff was also a gifted artist and created resistance propaganda. He actually got into that specific line of work originally as a joke. He made a propaganda poster of Poe Dameron after Dameron refused to appear in an official piece. Information indicates that Ziff died during the Battle of Starkiller Base, but I couldn't find this definitively. It's also strange that Ziff had the call sign Blue 2, but took orders from Black Leader Poe Dameron when we know that Temmin Snap Wexley was Blue Leader. Starmaroni Stark filled the slot as Blue 2 in later Resistance missions, but was inside the flagship Radiss's hangar bay when Kylo Ren and his squadron fired upon the ship, killing him inside. Flying under Ahsoka Tano as Blue 1, a clone pilot called Slammer flew as Blue 3. A dedicated rebel pilot called Jaldine Grams earned the spot as Blue 3 during the Battle of Scarif. She always wanted to be a pilot and honed her skills using intense simulators. She flew against the Empire at Scarif, but was locked out of the planet-side battle by the planetary shield. She dropped ordnance onto the shield gate with no luck on opening it. She and the rest of Blue Squadron that was left in open space joined the rest of the Alliance fleet in engaging the Imperial fleet, buying those on the ground precious time to accomplish their mission. I found no reports that Grams died at Scarif, but the Battle of Rogus Voss saw an unnamed pilot take the role. Another unnamed pilot flew as Blue 3 in the Battle of Jakku. I don't believe this was the same unnamed pilot as it was at Rogus Voss, but again, I could not confirm. Yet another pilot used the call sign Blue 3, but only in training as the Resistance prepared for the Battle of Dakar. Jessica Pava is the next named pilot to use the call sign. She was a Resistance pilot who flew various missions against the First Order. She lived in a time of relative peace, but honed her skills just the same. She was considered one of the best starfighter pilots of her day. She idolized the stories of Luke Skywalker and the Jedi Knights. It's no surprise that she remained loyal to Leia Organa when Leia established Resistance pilots, thinking that the mostly demilitarized New Republic would not be enough to stop the First Order from becoming the next Empire. Clone pilot Kickback followed Ahsoka into battle over Ryloth. He was one of the few clone pilots to survive that battle. Baryon Rayner, a human male from Ord Mantell. Rayner, who flew under the callsign Blue 4, wasn't just an ace pilot, he was Merrick's second in command. In addition to his accomplishments as a stellar pilot, he wrote the X-Wing Flight Manual. This manual was used by many Rebel pilots for their training. During the Battle of Jakku, an unnamed pilot flew under the callsign Blue 4. Polaris Ven and his astromech droid, BRBA, flew as Blue 4 against Starkiller Base and were unfortunately killed in the conflict. Clone pilot Tucker flew as Blue 5 loyally under Ahsoka during the Battle of Ryloth. His V-19 starfighter was shot down by vulture droids in the conflict. Farns Monsby took the callsign Blue 5 for the mission to Yadu, where he survived against Imperial forces. He flew against the Empire again during the Battle of Scarif. Monsby was left outside the planetary shield, where he assisted his allies in engaging the Imperial fleet. He survived the battle, but Blue Squadron was mostly decimated. The rebellion didn't have enough resources to launch Blue Group against the Death Stars soon after. A Sullustan bounty hunter turned rebel pilot, Tennum, flew a B-Wing starfighter at the Battle of Endor. The B-Wings were successful in taking down 2 Imperial Star Destroyers. An unnamed pilot took the callsign Blue 5 during the Battle of Jakku. A clone pilot going by Swoop flew as Blue 6 under Ahsoka Tano during the Battle of Ryloth. He was one of the few surviving pilots and flew with Blue Group again, being elevated to the leader of the second group of starfighters within the squadron. Vengos Grek took the callsign for the Battle of Scarif. He was a brave pilot who barreled toward the open planetary shield gate. When the Empire began to close the gate, he couldn't pull up in time and crashed into the energy wall, immediately dying in the process. An unnamed pilot took the callsign during the Battle of Jakku. Robic Dugson started his flight career as a Tirfon Yellow Ace. This small group turned out to be very important for the Rebel Alliance as it trained a number of skilled pilots. He flew as Blue 7 during the Battle of Scarif. An unnamed pilot took the callsign Blue 7 during the Battle of Jakku. Hef Tauber earned the callsign Blue 8 during the Battle of Scarif. He primarily flew the U-Wing support craft, but during the Battle of Scarif, he was assigned a T-65 X-Wing. He missed the opening in the shield gate. He ended up joining up with Green Squadron to engage the Empire in space. He survived the battle and stayed with the Rebellion as it transitioned to the New Republic and then again to the Resistance. He was instrumental in the decision for the Resistance to hide out on Crate. Blue 9 was assigned to Callum Graham during the Battle of Scarif. Before joining the Rebellion, Graham was a search and rescue pilot for a wilderness preservation society on the planet Atresia. Taslet Kolb flew a UT-60D U-Wing fighter and support craft under the callsign Blue 11. In an uncommon move, Blue Squadron had a pair of pilots operating under the same callsign. Laren Joma and Kolb were co-pilots who shared the callsign. They were shot down inside the planetary shield of Scarif while dropping off Rebel reinforcements. During the Battle of Scarif, Peril Rita flew as Blue 12. Rita was a skilled Y-Wing pilot who was transferred around to strengthen squadrons that needed a solid starfighter and bomber. There is no pilot data that I could find in any conflict for Blue 10, 13, 14, or 15, though those call signs were used for 2015's Star Wars Battlefront. This transmission comes at the request of a member of the Remnant. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments or let me know on the Imperial Remnant Discord. There's a link to the Discord in the description of every video. There's a follow-up transmission which is already recorded on the full Legends roster of Blue Group. Check out this transmission next to dive into the full Red Squadron roster.